It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan DeFaw. Before we get started, we want to help you save some money.
That's right, folks. Don't forget to use our promo codes to save that money. And let's start off with buckbaits.com. That's right, the brick and mortar store of Buck Baits down at Sterling Heights, Michigan at 15 and Dodge Park. Go over there. If you're on the website, buckbaits.com, use the promo code UNJ20. That will get you 20% off your order.
For those of you who are looking for Easy Cut products, make sure you go to easycutproducts.com. And when you're there, use the UNJ promo code UNJ15 off to save 15% off your order.
And let's not forget Lincoln Roan over at packermax.com. It's never too early, never too late to think about the Packer Max. Go on over to packermax.com, use the promo code UNJ25. That'll get you $25 off your order over at Packer Max Outdoors.
For those of you looking for some new firearms and firearm products, make sure you go over to the islandarmory.com. While you're there shopping, use the promo code UNJ10 to save 10% off your order there. If
you shot that bird of a lifetime and you want it mounted, don't forget Troublesome Creek Taxidermy. We've had them live on the show. We've talked to them. You want to get 10% off your order, go to Facebook, go to troublesome.creek.7, find their website. If you go to our website, UNJ, make sure to click on the button to download the form. You get 10% off over there using the code UNJ10.
Looking for that game call, whether it be a squirrel, whether it be goose, duck, deer, make sure you go to JPO Game Calls. Look for them at jpogamecalls.com, and while you're there shopping, use the UNJ10 promo code to save 10% off your order.
And Miller Deer Tracking, the man that seems to never sleep during deer season. Get 20% off your next deer tracking using the promo code UNJ20. Look for Miller Deer Tracking on Facebook or give him a call over at 810-240-4891.
Looking for the hottest new plastics to take on the water, whether it be hard water or soft water? Make sure you go over to southernindianabaitco.com. While there, use the UNJ promo code UNJ10 to save 10% off your order.
Deer Camp Coffee, folks. We drink it every night on the show. You want to try it? You can go to the brick and mortar store at 15 and Dodge Park at Deer Camp itself, or go to deercampcoffee.com. Also use our promo code UNJ10. You get 10% off your order. And don't forget, get a bag of the UNJ medium roast blend there as well.
All right, Danny, where's our live view camera to look from tonight?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our live cast on Facebook. Tonight, we're going all the way over to Wisconsin. That's right, we're going to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where it's right now 40 degrees. There's a little bit of snow, but I guess over here, we're going to be getting some more snow from them.
Yeah, it's on its way. Somebody's packaged it up and sending it this way.
Right, so there you go. Tonight's live look into a backyard where there's some snow left. Even though it's March, we still got snow hanging on. Last Friday we got hammered, and it was basically gone the next day. That was kind of awesome. I liked it.
I wish the snow was gone. Matter of fact, I wish the snow was gone so bad, I'm out of here. I'm leaving.
I know you are. That just so everybody knows, we're not having a show next week.
That's right.
Where Mike's taking some time off to go recharge his batteries, get his tan on, and I brought you some Lucky Huntsman because it's March.
That's right.
I was down at deer camp.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely got it. Had to get some fresh 100 Irish cream for us.
There you go.
But so we're back. You finally changed your shirt. Thank God I brought you something to change into.
Speaking of something being delivered from Wisconsin to us, we waited on the snow, but actually we got some nice boxes sent to us this week. And actually I'm wearing one of them right now. Nice shirt here.
Nice fishing shirt.
That's right, along with a good gator and my hat.
And I've got on some camo and a hat.
So you might be able to see what we're going to be talking about tonight. We got the logo out back here. So we'll get into that here in just a second. But yeah, so next week, just please remember that we are not going to be here. It's going to be 2 weeks before we get back to do a show. So.
Yep, we'll be back in 2 weeks. I might check in next week sometime, see what's going on.
I'll probably check in from the beach.
Right, exactly.
So we'll see. So are we ready to get into it tonight?
You know what? Maybe we should head out to Wisconsin and find out while we got somebody on the line waiting to talk to us.
All right, well, let's just jump into it tonight. We want to welcome Jason Hepfler from Swamp Buck Camo to the show. Jason from Wisconsin, how you doing tonight?
Hey guys, how's it going? Hey Mike, hey Dan. Appreciate you having me on. Actually calling in from New Richmond, Wisconsin, just a little bit further from Eau Claire. I'm from Eau Claire originally, about an hour, roughly an hour west, and we have plenty of snow. So Mike, I'm going to be joining you. I'm going to head to Florida next week as well for spring break because I've had enough.
There you go. And we'll leave it all for Danny to clean up.
Thanks. Really, thanks.
So you need to go over to his place in Wisconsin, shovel that driveway, and then you need to come back and make sure my driveway's shoveled.
Right. Be right on that.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Right? So, reason why we're having on Swamp Buck tonight is a big announcement. We've kind of been teasing it the last few days. You've seen our pro staff, Tammy, our social media expert, unboxing some things from Swamp Buck, but we're also going to announce tonight that Swamp Buck is now the official supporter of Up North Journal. So that's what the camo we will be wearing from now on.
And we want to thank you for getting us all geared up. We got some great stuff, and we're going to go through some of that tonight as well. So, but Jason, if we're going to talk about Swamp Buck, we got to know the man behind Swamp Buck and the whole thing and how this all started. So, give us a little bit of background about yourself. Hunting, fishing, of that nature. How did you get started in the outdoors?
Yeah. So like most of us, I got started in the outdoors from my dad, and as I know you guys are in Michigan, and I think a lot of the Midwestern, upper Midwestern states, it's usually a family, some kind of family entrance into sportsmen's. What's unique about Wisconsin is our deer hunting, right? Especially our rifle season every year is Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So that connection to a holiday and family is really how it starts. I didn't realize it, until I got older. But my dad grew up. I grew up in Eau Claire, like I said before. My dad was a rubber worker. Worked at Uniroyal Tires, which really, founded that city. Mm-hmm. And he was a union worker, so he didn't get a ton of time off. But one of the weeks he got every year was Thanksgiving week, nice. And I was always hunting, right? So again, I didn't appreciate it when I was younger as much. I just thought this is what you do, right? We go hunting. Right. It's always cold, unfortunately, right? But so you grow up with bad gear. If I could, someday I'm sure that gear is still at my mom and dad's house. I'll have to put it on the web, put it on social media someday because it's always hand-me-downs, right? Because you hunt, only 1 week a year. Like I said, it's usually cold. But that really cemented that. My dad was a true sportsman. Hunting was a lot different back then. I grew up doing drives, stopping at farmers' lands who my dad knew, and we'd drive the woods. We'd put up standards and try to spook out some deer, right?
Right.
Every deer was a trophy. Every deer was harvested and eaten, right? And then as you get older, we got into archery. We bought land that became ours where we could practice, not just quality deer management, which is obviously a trendy term, mm-hmm. but also set up food plots. I mean, we were truly hunting all year round now instead of just waiting for that 1 week a year. But my genesis and entrance into sportsman's, fishing as well was definitely through my dad. And I'm sure that's no different than you guys, right? It's really hard to get into this hobby without that type of family influence.
Looking back, like you said, family and surrounding around the campfire, the tent, whatever, however anybody cuts their teeth in the outdoors, we look back to a dad, a grandpa, or maybe an uncle along those lines. And, what you said about working at Uniroyal Tire, it's just, Danny and I the same way. We came from family that were just hardworking people, and when they got a little time off, they went to the Northwoods and wanted to spend some time, spending time in the outdoors. So I can completely understand that, and Danny and I are both fortunate to be from that same type of background, and now we're lucky enough to be able to have a place to be able to go to and hunt. So right along with you along those lines. But what I want to do. Did you have a lucky shirt? Because you're talking about that old style hunting gear. Did you have a lucky shirt or a lucky pair of socks that you wore?
I had one of those hand-me-downs. I did have a lucky hat. My dad had a lucky hat that he wore, which now, unfortunately, he's passed, but it hangs at my cabin now.
Awesome.
We have my grandpa's lucky hat hangs at my cabin next to my dad's. So of course, you got to have a lucky something, right? And
Right.
we definitely had the lucky hat.
You know, that and mismatched socks that are about 8 sizes too big that your dad
Right.
gives you to put on. They come up to your knees when you're little and you're trying to go out. I mean, that's what we base what we do off of, man. It's awesome to have that kind of heritage and to know that it's being carried on from people like you. And, we've done the same thing with our kids as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm super proud that if we go to, so archery is kind of my season. I do it with my younger son, but as you guys know, archery you're kind of it's in the woods by yourself anyway, right? You got to stay quiet. You got to no moving, no talking, don't smell, right? Play the wind right, all that, right? We're gun season. We still have family. My cousins come up, aunts and uncles come over and play cards, like you mentioned. I mean that. My son who doesn't hunt comes up. It's still that family thing that we take forward every rifle season, So when I was a kid, the cards were almost more fun than the deer hunting, right?
Right.
And hearing the stories of these older hunters talk and give each other grief, I remember those, as I'm talking about, I can picture it perfect in my head. So that's what makes hunting, and that's what, people that don't understand our sport, they don't see that aspect of it, the camaraderie that we have at the deer camp.
Absolutely. So at the Hepfler camp, what is the card game of choice?
Yep, sheep's head. We play sheep's head. We play strong sheep's head. We usually try to play five-person sheep's head. And we keep score for opening weekend, and we have a sheep's head trophy every year.
Nice.
There you go. And you said this started years ago, and I get a feeling your dad had a little bit of comedic in him by, if anybody listening to the show, if you go to swampbuckcamo.com and you go to the About Us section, you got to read the story about how Swamp Buck came to be, but you start looking at the pictures, and the picture they have up is of his dad, his uncle, and his aunt. And you look at the picture at first like, oh, they're with a deer. And then you kind of notice, wait a second, that deer looks pretty stiff.
Right.
So I get a feeling that you guys get pretty, you guys like to laugh and have fun and play some jokes on each other at camp.
Yes, that's my dad was known for that. The stories are legendary, and that picture we found that picture after my dad had passed. When you getting ready for the the ceremony or the funeral, we found that picture, and it was hugely ironic to find that picture because my dad did that with us when I was a kid. We had the same thing happen, right? He got this nice little buck for up in Winter, Wisconsin. That's where we were hunting back then. And left it out a little too long outside, and it froze perfectly like it was walking.
Nice.
He took it down from the tree, and when it fell, it hits the hind legs and then fell forward and stood perfect like it was like alive. And we took it, and that's what's on the website still today. I run those pictures on my social media once or twice a year because they're family heirlooms now. They were taken with an old camera, advanced film. They're not digital, so they're pictures of a picture, if you will. So the resolution's a little bit bad, but that's who my dad was. We took like 6-7 photos of him wrestling a deer, him stalking a deer, pulling my sister on a sled. That one's not on the website, but shooting it from short distance. I mean, we just had a bunch of fun. So he was a character. He was the original Swamp Buck. That's really where the story came from. I mean, him and our family friend who we hunted with still just recently. They would drive the swamp literally, right, trying to scare out the big bucks, and while we were standing. So that's where the name came from.
So speaking of that, did your family and your hunting party, did you guys do a lot of deer drives, or did you sit and stalk?
No, it was mainly how it worked every Saturday morning, every opening season is we would find a spot, go in and dark 30, find a spot to stand, and about 9 o'clock, my dad would get the itch to do a drive. It wouldn't take long, right? It'd be like 9 a.m. Okay, nothing's moving, let's move it. And then the rest of the day is driving around and finding those farms, right, and getting permission, and then driving them, and that's how I grew up, right? And then probably my early 20s, my aunt, who's in that picture, Aunt Nancy and Uncle Bob, they bought their own land, and we hunted there for about 10 years, which kind of still drove. That was still, my dad couldn't sit that long. So we still did a driving technique, but we had a little bit more of, same stands every year, that type of thing. Now, you fast forward, to our land. We hunt now in Cumberland, Wisconsin. We have 60 acres up there, and it's only sit. It's not enough to drive. Nobody around us drives, so it's a totally different hunt. Still enjoyable, of course, but things have really changed through the years, at least in our state, in Wisconsin.
That's great, man.
Family traditions, man. Family traditions, memories. But like you said, you went to it changed over the years, but
it changed, but it didn't.
Right, exactly.
Everything moves and shifts a little bit, but basic things stay the same.
Exactly. So that's obviously as you got older, and then what got you the urge to create Swamp Buck? What was that? You sitting there one day, and all of a sudden it hit you?
Yeah. So I'm not from the apparel business. I'm actually from the medical device world, right? I've been in cardiovascular medical devices for almost 30 years now. But when influenced, I love to hunt. So I was looking for more opportunities to have my hobby be a little bit more of a lifestyle. And sound kind of funny, or rudimentary, but Duck Dynasty really influenced me. I seen this family that was so united around hunting and made a business of it, right? Mm-hmm. Now, did I ever think Swamp Buck would, or do I even today think it will be that? No. But I was like, you know what? I have a strong business acumen. I'm gonna try it out. I have a friend, my best friend from junior high and college, or through college to this day. His brother, who's also a friend, was a graphic artist, and we just started talking. And I said, what I'd like to do is make a camo pattern. It actually was always going to be a casual thing. I was never going to do a functional pattern. I didn't think that the market that I could enter that market, because it's so competitive. So I just wanted a casual novelty pattern, and we came up with the one that you're wearing, Dan. That's we call the Passion pattern now. So that was our original pattern, and we were pretty happy with it. And to be honest with you, I was happy just doing 2 or 3 hunts a year. Promoting Swamp Buck, and that was my whole goal, is to kind of, again, make my hobby a little bit more into my lifestyle. Fast forward a few years, you meet the right people, we've been lucky that way, been blessed that way, that certain people get put in your life at the right time. Met a really nice lady who had a functional pattern, and we actually just purchased that directly from her. And that's the pattern that now we manipulate and change the colors, like that you're seeing today. I'm wearing a blue. I've got this green, the traditional green behind me. We've got 15 different colors. We're making green and gold colors now. Maybe we'll do a silver and blue for you Michigan fans, right? Someday.
The Lions?
Boo. Not Michigan fans. No,
no ways in blue. You just roll Tide and go away.
Yeah. If you can do crimson and white, I will love it.
There we go. So that's the kind of fun we're having now, is we can manipulate the pattern how we need to. We can add colors. So it's really come a long way from, hey, let's just have this little novelty pattern, put it on a few shirts, sell a few hats, and we'll have this nice little side hustle.
Uh-huh.
And now we're making our own flannels. I know we'll talk about that too, how we got to work with Jay Gregory and the Wild Outdoors crew, which again was just a blessing for us. And we just keep on going. So every year we just get a little bit bigger, add a few more things. We learn a lot every year, and it's really been a blast. But it's come a long way from our original goal, which was just to exist in in deer hunting especially, but sportsmen's in the sportsman's world, and we're enjoying it. We're having fun.
That's cool.
It's one of those things. It's a small guy taking a dream, a thought, making it into a dream, making it into reality. Like he even said, what he thought wasn't going to be, but now it's starting to grow bigger, and like you said, it's not going to stop. So I think we need to take a break, and when we come back, what we'll do is we'll start diving into the different patterns.
All right. We're going to step outside, take our first break, and we'll be right back after this.
All right, folks, you got questions. My brother says, euchre games with the camp down the 2-track. Our camp was Whiskey Jacks. Theirs was Camp Sakatoon.
We've got Tammy. She says, big fan of the unique patterns. Definitely make it stand out from every other run-of-the-mill camo. Awesome. So, where are we going to start? Where do you want to start with this, Jason? Because I've got stuff sitting right back here.
Yeah, no. However you want to do it.
So
go whichever way you want to go.
We'll start with the camo patterns, and then we'll go into we'll start there.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show. Tonight we're sitting talking camo. We're
with our new supporter of Up North Journal,
Swamp
Buck.
Swamp Buck Camo. And yes, we have Swamp Buck Camo here to talk about tonight. We've got stuff to show you as well. Jason, I'm holding up the darker camo pattern here. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we originally started with just 2 camo patterns when we went to our functional wear, right? We have the traditional green and browns, and every camo company has that, right? So you got to have it because that's probably the most typical color palette. We came out with the gray and black, which that one's a little tighter pattern. We can widen it out too, but originally it was meant to be like for spot and stalk type hunting out west. And we had a lot of people that liked it for the blinds. So what we did is we brought the pattern tighter, so the whites weren't too big, because that one now can work. At least the idea was that it would work in a blind, so you stay really pretty dark. But if you are outside still, either field hunting, especially late season, or in a tree, it still has that breakup, right, that every hunter's looking for. There's no question, you can wear anything in the stand as long as you don't move and you're downwind and all that. But hiding your silhouette still has some advantages, and that color breakup actually still works pretty well. So it was kind of more of a play on, hey, if you want to be in the blind for turkey season, and I mean a lot of turkey hunters in the blind, you have that. But if you do come out, you still have the breakup, right? And you can get something behind you, and it's really hard for an animal to see, your silhouette.
When we were unboxing tonight and getting stuff out for the show, that was the first thing I noticed about that. I was like, Danny, he had something that was a little bit darker that he had worn previously in the blind. I'm like, I haven't got anything at all in a darker color, and I absolutely love it because, even hunting up against an oak or a maple, you think brown, but late season bow hunting, there's grays and dark tones.
Yep.
Once them leaves come off, everything starts to turn gray and not black, but a darker shades of gray. And man, that's the first thing I noticed is this would blend into some of that stuff incredibly. So,
so when you started with this pattern, how long did it take you to actually, like, hey, I'm going to make a darker pattern, and like you said, you tightened it up, and then how many roughly iterations did it take you to go, yeah, that's the one?
That's a good question, and I think it still plays out when we're a small company, right? We warehouse our own stuff here. We don't sell it. We have Shields and Eau Claire carry a couple lines. They've been a great partner, but really it's all through internet sales, right? So we still play with it, Dan. I would say that the one that Mike is wearing right there is probably iteration number 3, and it's probably been the most popular because it's a nice balance of size-wise. It does still breaks it up, but still have it dark enough that when you're in the blind, it doesn't give off too much light. And then what happens is we'll get feedback, and we order smaller quantities, like, literally sometimes 30, but 60, 90 typically quantities. And if we get enough feedback, I'll make a change in the very next shipment. It's different, and that could be for the fabric too. Fabric changes. If we get new technology and installation, like the one Mike's wearing there, and that's about 75 grams of Thinsulate like material. It's not Thinsulate, that's a trademark, but it's really the same process, right? Where it's layers and layers of insulation, thin insulation on it. And so we can make changes pretty quick. So the camo, it's a great question, but the colors are actually very easy to manipulate. How it looks to your eye and then to an animal's eye, that's always an evolving process.
Right, that's the $99 question.
Well, and then you can't answer all those different questions, right? Is it sunny out? Is it cloudy out? Is it, what time of day? Like you said, but being able to change it on the fly, in essence, per run almost, that's kind of, it's a very unique thing as opposed to, hey, remember that pattern that I used 20 years ago? I'm still using it today.
Right.
It's the same thing over and over and over.
Right.
But like Jason said, depending on the material.
Well, that was going to be my question, is talking about the material, and we learned this early on when we started working with some people that were talking about fabrics, is that depending on what you print this on is the way, does it have a sheen? Is it dull? Is it a matte finish? Especially when, if the sun hits it, if you're in a blind and you get that low angle sun, like maybe first light or whatever, you don't want this thing glowing. It's just, a lot of people don't realize that, because we've seen some camo in stores like that.
No, you're exactly right, Mike. Sometimes that stuff looks great in the store, right? Because it is attractive to our eyes. We're not always thinking how it's going to look and stand, right?
Yep.
And even your apparel manufacturers, they're really good at what they do. They understand fabrics really well. They understand stitch count. They can advise me or whoever on how best to make a jacket or a vest, but they don't know hunting. Right? A lot of them don't know hunting. So there's a lot of things that I would change and the one thing you mentioned there is first thing I did is we had a couple items that had a sheen to it. And like, I can't use that fabric. They were like, well, why not? Because usually when you sublimate, most of the camo patterns you see these days are sublimated, meaning that it's white, and then you have a process that puts your pattern, actually your pattern becomes part of the fabric, right? So there's some fabrics that keep that sheen. We can't have that. That'll catch a deer's eye like that. And then you have different fabric that flexes too much, because if you have a top layer, which is the camo, the middle layer stays white, right? So if you stretch it, if it's too stretchable, then white will show through, and that reflects off to a deer's eye really easy, especially deer, turkey. They'll pick that up. There's something there, right? And now you're busted, right? And then, of course, the inner layers, that remains white too. So we try to use fabric that have good amounts of stretch, but not too much that it exposes that middle layer, and then the outer layer has no sheen, because that's critical. Even though it does look nice, we don't want the deer to see us, right? So we kind of knock that off. And then if you can do that, the fabrics, then you bring in the weatherproofing or weather resistance, right? And that's the part that our traditional hunters that use flannel, those work. Fred Bear used flannel, one of the best hunters ever, right? You watch the Jim Shockey shows. He's wearing just
plain flannel.
Yeah, he's just wearing now he's wearing camo now because he's got a camo company sponsor him. So God bless him, right?
Yep.
But you know what you get with the new tech is you get fabrics that can handle weather better than the flannels or the wools in the old days, right?
Weather better and lighter.
Yes, much lighter, right?
Right. That whole thing about that lightweight technology and that's one thing we got here. The jacket that you sent along that Mike was trying on and everything, we were looking at it, and that's one of the things. You just didn't throw these out there and just say, hey, I'm going to do a camo company, right? You put some thought into it, whether it be the hood that zippers to it, you can take that off, run without a hood. You've got pockets, you've got everything.
Pockets are the zippers with the pulls on them,
right?
Which is, to me, is key, especially in the cold when your fingers are a little bit frostbitten where you can't feel anything, you can get a hold of that and pull it down instead of fumbling for that little tiny tab. It's just the little things.
Stuff like that. Little stuff like that's feedback we get. Our very first rendition of that jacket, we had pockets that weren't sewn in, so when you took your hand out, so the pocket would invert a little bit, right?
Yep.
And that was like, hey, that needs to be fixed immediately, because we all have hand warmers in there, or something else in there, and then you pull it out and then it falls down the tree. I'm like, okay, that needs to be fixed immediately. Cold fingers with the zip ties or the zip pulls. We didn't have those initially. We added them because somebody said it'd be nice if you had something on there. Done. It makes sense to me because I'm a hunter too, right? And
right.
all my pros are hunters, and we take their feedback. And I would bet you 20% of my improvements year to year come directly from hunters that give me feedback. And if it makes sense to me, I just make the change. And like, that's a great idea. I'm doing it.
Two things we noticed right away on the pants, Danny brought to my attention, is the zippered leg, which to me, every piece of gear needs to have this for hunters. And the other thing that I noticed is, and it may not sound like a big deal, but it is the metal button, the fastener for the pants. To me, that's huge. You don't want something that's going to come off or break off or pull off. It's grommeted on, and to me, something as simple as that, to me, is huge.
Yep. I hope when people wear our stuff, and it will get better every year. I promise you it will. But I hope when they put it on, they see that somebody that's a hunter is involved with this company, right? And the leg zips are another one, right? That to me, we actually we started out with leg zips to the knee, and now we bring them all the way up to mid thigh. Because people wear longer boots, and as the season changes, I want to have something that can work with the seasonal change.
Yep,
absolutely, and that's one of the things we look at. And we're definitely going to provide you feedback. We talked about that before we brought you on as a sponsor about how we like to work with the company. More so, we become friends and work together. But yeah, giving you our feedback, whether we're going to be in Indiana, Michigan, or wherever we might be, and giving you that feedback is going to be, vital to help you make those changes you said that, you're going to make. We can sit down, have a little round table, talk about it around a fire, and like you said, you went with this dark pattern, but then you also have the traditional brown pattern as well.
Yep. And we probably still sell more of the traditional brown, but like talking to a Shields, that was a very humbling experience. You go in their camo aisle, and every camo they have, all high quality stuff, good manufacturers, are all that color palette. So we want to have it as an offering, but we've kind of specialized more in the blind wear that can function outside the blind, and then the early season green, which we just brought out this year. Really at the, I guess, end of fall, but meant for this turkey season here, which is a unique color palette and that's a tough green to pull off. And I think we've done it pretty well.
That's one of the things, like you said, the lightweight stuff that we have with us today. For Mark Coleman's going to use it for mushroom hunting. he did say that. But getting it out there in the turkey woods, Jay Gregory using it. He'll probably be out doing some turkey hunting with his family as well. And, I also see that color working very well in like a drier climate.
Mm-hmm. Something I thought about with this darker color is, guys, not that you really need a lot of camo in the evening, later in the evening, but guys who maybe who coyote hunt, later at those first light hours and last light hours, maybe they're hunting in heavy, thick cover. To me, I would think that this would be key for that.
Yeah, we like I said earlier, we probably sell more of the gray, but I think it's more because it's unique, right? But I hear everybody has different ideas,
Okay.
on how they want to use it. And a lot of people have, and especially in our areas in the upper Midwest, like you said earlier, Mike, when you get late season, the oak trees are everywhere, no leaves. No leaves, right? So if you're in a good, big tree, it might be better than a green.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting that you talked about this pattern for, maybe out west, but like I said, I just see this later in the season just being spot on here in the Midwest.
Oh, for sure.
So, you know what? Let's go ahead and we'll take our next break. We come back, we'll continue the conversation. We got more pieces here that we can talk about and different things. So we're going to step outside, take our next break, and we'll be right back after this.
All right, we got, I did have a comment here from Mike Wiltsey. If you're a hunter, especially a bow hunter, Jason makes the most comfortable camo on the market. I wear it year-round for any season. Plus, Jason is a decent guy.
Nice. Mike's a good guy.
There you go.
Tammy says the thumb holes in the long sleeves are great when you're putting it on a hoodie or coats. You don't have to wrestle the sleeve.
Those are
That's
huge.
another-
Yep.
That's another one we added. We don't have it on all our T-shirts, but we have that on all our hoodies. Have the thumb hole, and that's something we say, hey, I need a thumb hole on these. Can we do it? Boom, they put it in.
There you go.
So there you go. Exactly. So you just it's becoming. You'll be able to use this 365.
We're going to talk about this next.
All right.
We'll wing it here. Okay. Here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Third segment of the show. We've been talking about patterns. We've been talking about products. We've been talking about the material that we use. But one thing that we've already talked about this pattern, but the material and being made into what we call a net gator, but you call them a buff. Talk a little bit about the thought process about making one of these, because it seems like anybody's in the woods now, whether it's, doesn't matter what type of hunting they're doing, they've got these on, and now you start to see them in the fishing circuit as well.
Yeah. No, I sell a lot of buffs or gators, and I don't know why I call them buffs, to be honest with you. I think the lightweight ones we call buffs, and the heavyweight ones we call gators.
Okay.
So I'm not. That's just our talk. I'm not sure that's an apparel.
Okay, I didn't know.
In this industry wide, that's how we do it. But the buffs, I think, is because that particular one there, like my wife will even use it as a headband sometimes. So it's one of those that can do multiple things, right? Where a gator is just really typically your neck. But it's really versatile. Fishermen love it. It has that SPF. It's about SPF 40, right?
Okay.
Unique story. We had Wyatt Gregory, so Jay's son, again part of the Wild Outdoors. That again they supplied not just so much content for me, but so much knowledge, right? That's one of those products that on the inside is white, right? So and we all have had these, right? You're in stand, and if that white is showing, again, it just is screams, "Here I am" to a deer, right?
Right.
Fishing don't matter, right? So for all ours, we usually make them reversible now, so they're colored on both sides, right? I think that's what you have there, right? So it's black. So if you want to go in the blind, put it on the full black, and then if you are outside, use the colored pattern. But they're super versatile. They not only are they SPF 40, like I said, but I'll wear those, below freezing. When we get into this, single digits, then I'm going to the gator, right? The thicker. But that, because it sticks so close to the skin, and it's got really nice flexibility. It's not too tight, not too compressive, which some of them can be. They're great, and so flexible. I can put any pattern on those and change the design and colors. So we got some crazy colors to match our fishing gear, and they work great, and they stay. The nice thing is they compress well, so they stay on your head. Versus, you've all had those where they keep coming down and you're constantly moving. Well, you don't want to move and stand, right? You want to be able to stay still. And so I think we've got a nice balance of compression that stays but doesn't hurt your face after sitting and stand for 5 hours.
And you talk about being reversible, and the logo is also on the inside. So
got to put the logo.
Got to put the logo. So I mean, you didn't go short on any of this stuff. So this is awesome. I love it.
Thanks.
So, and you talked about, there's the white you're talking about on the fishing side. So, that's the difference.
Fishing don't matter, but that and stand. And we used to make them that way with the white on the inside. And I just want to try to prevent any type of exposure possible. If we get busted by a deer because of a design, issue, that's no bueno. So I'm trying to, improve it every time.
Gotcha.
Well, that's the thing, right? You're trying to improve. continuous improvement, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Looking at, we've got the lightweight gear here tonight with us. You've also got something that's a little bit heavier for later on in the season. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So our heavier weight, we go to bibs then for pants, right? Because we want to cover up that mid back. And we last year we had 125 grams of Thinsulate, so it's still fairly lightweight and made to layer, right? But definitely a little bit thicker. But it's amazing how lightweight it still is. And then we've added a few, like a couple D rings, so you can hang your compass, or most people use phone GPS now,
Right.
But you can hang your buck snort or your rangefinder from it. And this year, much like do you have one of the Sherpa line flannels there?
Yes.
Right. This fall we'll have this Sherpa liner, which this is probably our best selling item is these flannels, especially the ones with the Sherpa. We're actually adding that Sherpa liner to our camo wear too.
Okay.
And it's almost like a wool like warmth. Probably breathes about the same too. And I think that'll be really, really nice addition for this fall / winter.
Yeah, I was when I saw that and put my hand up against it, I was like, wow, this is so soft.
Yep.
and quiet as well. I mean, that's the other thing about the clothing, it's quiet, which
It's
to me
quiet,
is
yeah.
cute, is huge.
Mike, we actually, so a lot of our material, most of it is not waterproof, it's water resistant. And everybody wants everything, right? I want it waterproof, they want it water resistant, breathable, and quiet. And those three things are really hard to put together, right? Because as soon as you waterproof it, you give up noise.
Exactly.
Right? You start to get that corduroy zit kind of
Right.
There's always something to give up to gain something.
It's a trade-off. Yep. So we try to minimize trade-offs with the fabrics we choose, right? The flannel. So that I wear that all winter, and it was beautiful. So that's why we made the change. We're like, we're going to put the Sherpa line. It's a little bit more expensive, but the Sherpa liner, we've gotten great feedback. And actually, the flannel in general, it's an interesting story. So we were talking about Jay and the Wild Outdoors crew, and how good of partners they've been to me. Well, Jay posted something on social media, and somebody, of course, social media just blows up. People sometimes, right? It's a toxic environment sometimes. So.
Right.
So somebody just blows Jay up and it's like, hey, I thought you were a traditional hunter. Why do you like camo? And Jay had you must be getting paid by them, right? No, we sponsor Jay, right? There's nothing shameful about that. But I called him afterwards. I said, that post really bothered me. Let's do a flannel. I'll do a flannel. I think I can do a flannel, and I don't know for sure, but let me check it out. It took me about 30 days, got a flannel, and now we have a Wild Outdoors flannel line, and it's really become more of a, even that orange one obviously, is not something you'd wear necessarily in the woods outside of rifle season anyway. You wouldn't wear for archery.
Right.
So we have all kinds of colors. We have a pink one now. We have a Green Bay Packer colors, right? Green and gold. We're adding a purple and gold next year. We'll call it the flannel battle, the border flannel battle. We'll see whose fan base is more supportive. And then, I think it's a great example of how being a small company. Again, there's no way I should be in business with Jay Gregory and Wyatt and their whole team, because they're one of the most established shows. But they're really good people who have been patient with me, and that's a good example of how a small company was able to move at the speed of business, and now we have this flannel line that's really inspired by his traditional bow hunting.
That speaks volumes of being, like you said, a smaller company, but being able to react to a situation or a calling of some sort in 30 days and have a product that you can say, okay, well, here, how about this? And test the market with. That's a quick turnaround. At least in my eyes, it is.
No, I think it is, and we didn't. It wasn't perfect the first one either. We had the wrong buttons, and then we added new buttons which weren't great, weren't perfect, but we were closer. and now we have the product that you have there, and I think we hit a home run. So we're gonna add more colors this year, and that Sherpa was just the perfect touch to it. So really proud of that product, but even more proud of the partnership we had and how it came to be.
Absolutely, and for people listening on the show, all the things we talk about tonight, you can always go find them over at swampbuckcamo.com. Do a little searching over there. You look up the flannel line. He's got them all posted there, different colors, blue and black, orange and black, Green Bay Packer.
Does that hurt to say that, Dan?
No, it actually doesn't. No, not at all. I'd rather, it's the Detroit Lions here. I can't say no more.
He's a Packer fan. Don't let him fool you.
I know he hunts in the UP, so I mean that's kind of Packer country up there.
Yeah,
so.
you think?
Yeah.
Well, except when it's kind of funny you mention that, because you're you can either tell when the Packers are playing Minnesota or when the Packers are playing Chicago. It's just wild. But yeah, so you get on over to swampbuckcamo.com, check out the flannel line. One thing I do love about these flannels is the snap button. I love snaps.
Well, there's the snap button, and then on just the quilted flannel, you've got the metal button.
But it's a big button.
I really like that.
Right? So, hats off to you for, getting with Jay. And Jay can say something sometimes and it gets social media-esque.
Well, we've had him on before.
Exactly. For that reason, right?
Yeah,
so,
had him on.
So,
No, Jay's got his own opinions, and you know what? To me, he's just a good part. I probably agree with most of them, to be honest with this. That doesn't hurt, but
Right.
But I probably wouldn't say some of the stuff he does.
He says what we're all thinking.
But and I applaud that. I mean, Ted Nugent, very, very similar, right? I mean,
exactly.
He's one of our sportsmen that he's saying stuff that we probably wouldn't say, but we're all kind of like, I would say it.
You know what? In their space, if you don't like it, then you can either turn the channel or just turn them off or don't pay attention to them. Just
That's just it. He
right?
still has the right to his own opinion.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I actually think he doesn't. I'm perfectly fine with how he conducts himself. He's a good man.
Amen to that.
Right? So you just, but working with us, we're going to provide you that feedback out of the spring, tell you how everything went, give you our feedback on our pieces, and then we're going to roll right into fishing. You're going to be taking that down to your vacation next week.
Yep.
So you're going to provide instant feedback. Adam will be out on the water fishing, obviously, this summer. I'll be out on the water, so we'll definitely have feedback. You got a gator on, too. It blends right in, so...
And with the fishing side, you've got several patterns in this, right? Different patterns to work with.
Yeah, we when we go to the shows, I've learned, again, I love going to shows. We don't have a robust show schedule, but when we go, we always get feedback, and I'm personally there, right? I don't have somebody working the booth, so I get all the feedback. The people want options, right? They always like, oh, I love this pattern, but I wish you had it in
right.
in yellow, or pick crazy colors, right?
Right.
So fishing, I like to have a little fun with it. We do have a couple main patterns. The blues are obvious. We have a green pattern that's kind of our mainstay. But it is fun. We have a mahi color is totally unique. We've got a musky color. So we took a musky and match the colors, because if you look at a muskie, they go green to kind of yellow to white to green to pink, at the very bottom of their fins, right? So we took that, put that in a shirt, right? So we have fun with it. And if it doesn't sell, I only buy 30 of them at a time to test it. If it goes well, we stock up and have them ready to go online.
Very nice.
There you go, business as it flows.
Looking back at the fishing side, at what point did you say, okay, we've got the hunting side taken care of, and what led you into that fishing side?
Yeah, it wasn't obvious to me. It wasn't even on the radar initially. But what we sold a lot of the base layer. You showed one earlier that was just our traditional green that we treat as a base layer, right? So the proper way to dress for hunting, cold weather hunting, is to have your first layer be a wicking layer, right? So you get the sweat off of you while you're walking into stand, or if you're walking around, doing the spot and stalk or whatever. Once you get it off of you, you stay dry, right? So we created that base layer. We sold, the price point's probably right for a lot of people too, right? And people are just kept on saying, hey, I'd get emails or a text if we exchange numbers, and they're like, hey, I'm using it fishing all the time. It's great. And I did have an SPF rating, but I never advertised it that way because I wasn't using it for fishing.
Okay.
So we validated the SPF, and then, hey, let's add some more fishing colors. Now, turns out when we first started Swamp Buck, when we first did the business case, deer hunting was the largest spend in the sportsman's world, right? Since then, that's about 10 years ago when we did the original analysis. Since then, fishing has become the biggest spend, right? So it just made sense that, hey, I think we got a cool pattern. Let's just try it. We altered our logo a little bit, so it does have a fish on some of usually our fishing gear has the buck and the fish, because we didn't want to change the name to, something else, that's a classic marketing strategy, is to, change it slightly so everybody knows it's still the same company. I want to keep Swamp Buck, so we added a fish on it. And I tell you what, it's a blast. So we've got 4 more patterns coming out this year. I have a show in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, ironically. Dan, you mentioned Eau Claire's weather. Next weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend after, is the Northern Wisconsin Sports Show. And we're going to have 4 new colors to play with, and we'll see what works.
There you go.
Gotta like that.
Gotta like that, exactly. So he's always thinking, right? Not getting stagnant.
You got to, especially in a game of clothing, like you said, the big guys are established, and, you're carving out your niche within this. You've got to stay ahead of the game.
Well, then you get the people that don't necessarily fish, but they'll see the SPF on it, and they're like, oh, I can wear this while I'm gardening, while I'm out doing the lawn. Yeah. And it becomes, well, that blue's kind of cool. Yeah. Like a urban color, right? So you start opening up your market, not just to the fisherman or the hunter, but then you get a little bit of the side that, if they're just walking the show just for something to do, and they see that and you kind of explain to them, they're like, hey, yeah, I can use that.
Absolutely.
So, it's awesome. This story is just getting better and better the more we talk about it. I think our relationship is going to be pretty fun.
It's there is no limit to what you can dream up and what you can put on something like this and get the public involved, and taking the feedback like you said earlier. I think that's the key to seeing things evolve and just progress further and further, and making things better and better and better. So,
is this stuff made in the USA?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
So, and if there's anybody listening that's a made in USA apparel manufacturer, please reach out to us. We've been hit and miss on some of our U.S. Suppliers as far as their ability to be as nimble as I need to be as a small company. So most of our stuff, I would say probably 80% is now made overseas. But we're always looking, and I've done my own studies, just to see. I've had similar products, one that's made in the U.S. Specifically, and I'm very proud of those. I still have them, online and at my shows, and then I'll put it right next to my foreign partners, who have, again, quality-wise, you can't tell a difference. Matter of fact, sometimes even better overseas, because the sewing piece is a technical ability that really exists OUS, and that's also what drives the costs up in the US. And at these shows, a lot of times the foreign made will sell better simply because of the price point, right? Even though a lot of us would prefer to buy made in USA, myself included. And we started out exclusively that way, but it's really hard to compete with some of the price points that are out there. So we want to try to offer both, and I'll let the consumer kind of dictate where we manufacture from.
Okay,
absolutely.
So I think I have good partners in both.
You talking about supply chain and all that. Some being here, some being overseas as well. We had the nasty sea that came through COVID that affected so much of that. Is any of that still residual still around as far as supply chain issues, or are you able to get stuff pretty quick and resupply? I mean, you've talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great question. We were. I wish I was a little bit further along when that hit, because we were able to stay fluid with inventory. But a lot of that is we established early on we'd fly it in versus the shipping it in. Again, a little bit more expensive to do it that way. But those supply chains, the people who did that were able to. And again, you couldn't do, like, I'm sure Shields couldn't do this huge order for a big box store on planes. It'd be way too expensive for a small business person like myself. I was willing to pay the extra for the sake of speed, right? And I had zero disruptions. It was great. If I was doing shipping overseas, and I think that's cleaned up a little bit now. Again, I don't do that method yet, but for a while there, that was really clogging up supply lines. It was actually on the boat. You sometimes at the port, just sitting there, right? Couldn't get in.
Yep, we saw a lot of that, right? Yep, my stuff's right over there.
Sitting in that container.
In that bay.
So we were lucky that way.
So.
But that's another reason to be diversified, right? So that's why having a U.S.-based one contact is good in case that happens. So far we've had good partners on both sides.
That's good to know.
It's always good to have good partners.
Yep.
You got to have that relationship, especially, coming from his side of being on the small side type and being able to leverage that flexibility, where I'm sure he probably got the old, well, we won't talk to you unless you give us
X amount
of 5,000 pieces at a time,
right.
And that's how we started. Actually, the shirt that Dan's wearing, that's a traditional apparel model where we had to buy thousands of them, right? Same with the hats we originally ordered. Now that gave me some incredible price points, but I also couldn't control the pattern as much as I wanted to, because you're working from countries away, a little bit of a language gap. So I wasn't 100% pleased with the end product. Happy, but not like in my head I didn't get what I wanted completely. And it's an outlay of cash that really started us out behind the 8-ball, right? Where now we've got a really good contact, a really good partner. We can ship and supply my inventory a little bit more as we go, right? Not just in time, we're not quite there yet. But I can get, like, Mike, you have an idea today, I'll probably have it in 30 days, and that's pretty cool. So I feel
that's quick.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You just don't see things turn around that quick.
Not in these days.
Not especially since everything happened with the pandemic. So
right,
yeah.
Exactly. So
we need to take our last break. So let's go ahead. We take our last break. We come back. We'll kind of pick things up from where we're at right now, and then we'll wrap up the show. So
absolutely,
we'll be right back after this.
All right, folks. Last segment of the show, and yes, Tammy, he is a new guest. He will get the questions, folks. Don't browbeat me already.
Okay, we've went over all that. We've got everything.
We went over.
Is there anything else that we want to cover as far as the apparel line that we haven't talked about that you want to get in?
No, I do. I think this is great. I did want to get that in on Jay, which you let me do on the flannels.
Yep.
So I'm good. I appreciate that. This has been awesome so far. Hopefully it's good for you guys.
Absolutely.
Hey, we're in a small niche, as you know. So working together is better than trying to beat each other up.
Right. You got to work together.
We're like we said, we had Jay on our show. I forget what it was. He said something and went viral, and you got a hold of him, and we had him on the show, and it just, come on, guys. We always talk about it being in this, you
play in the same sandbox,
right? And before you know it, we're throwing sand in each other's face.
Yeah, and that's
So Mark wants a morel mushroom pattern. He's our morel mushroom hunter expert down in Indiana.
So me and Mark have an interesting history. I don't know if he ever told you how we met, but we were at the same camp together, and he's a great guy, and we got to know each other over a week. So if Mark wants a morel pattern, I'm going to see what I can do for him.
There you go. So
what I want to know is, why does he need to have camouflage and morel patterns to hide from morels? It's not like they're going to elude him.
He's from Indiana. What do you want to?
Well, that explains it.
It's a good luck shirt, Mike.
Okay. I'll give him that.
It's the mushroom from the right grassy knoll.
Yeah, geez, okay. All right, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Last segment of the show.
Folks, again, if you don't watch our live show, you're going to miss what you see
What you
if
hear.
you're listening to it on the podcast, right? Because we do things in the break that, you're not going to hear it on the podcast. So, go over to Facebook, catch our live show again, or wait a few days and it'll be on YouTube and you can watch it on our YouTube channel over there.
Well, we've been talking a lot about camo tonight. They need to see the patterns. They need to see the product,
That's right. And then if you want to do that, we're talking with Swamp Buck Camo. Go over to swampbuckcamo.com and then check out everything we've talked about tonight. And, I'm excited for this partnership to start blossoming as we get into morel season and then turkey season.
It's my first morel pro hunter is Mark.
Right, and
I'm excited about it.
Tammy says he needs to dress for success. So,
All right.
right?
All right. I'll give him that.
Hey, Mr. Swamp Buck, the man, the myth, the legend, the mastermind. He wants ideas.
There you go. Okay. Mark says mushrooms are hard to find, so he would be hard to find in the woods as well too. You know what? I'll give him that because he doesn't want to give up his spot. So if somebody happens to be stumbling through the woods, he doesn't want to give away his spot.
Right.
He can wear the.
That's
camo.
a mastermind. That's a mastermind term for that guy right there.
There
Good
you
job,
go.
Mark. That's what it is. Yeah.
So it's going to help him hide that, or somebody's going to think he's a giant mushroom.
Right? So you said you have a show coming up in a week from, we'll say Friday,
Yep.
in Eau Claire. You got any other places you're going to be here in the next month or so?
Yeah. Next month. That'll be our only one in the spring this year. Unfortunately, we do like to go to Deer Fest in the summer.
Okay,
Back in Oshkosh.
you're going to get over there?
Yep, we're going to do Deer Fest, and then that very next weekend, I believe that's July 21st. That very next weekend is Bow Fest, which is up in Superior, Wisconsin. We do kind of stay close to home, and we'll kind of hopefully expand out as things go. I'm sure we'll do more shows than that, but them are kind of our traditional ones. We love. If you haven't been to Bow Fest, by the way, I mean I don't get paid to plug it. I actually pay to go to it.
Right.
But what a great experience that is. Good music. The pros, are very accessible. Just a really good time. I actually bring my family and stay at the cabin there because it's so much fun. So this will be our third year doing that one too.
Big archery shoot there too, right?
Big archery shoot, which I've been there 2 years in a row. I haven't done the archery shoot, but we're gonna expand our personnel. Got a bigger cabin this year, so I can go and enjoy the shoot too, and not just work it the whole time.
There you go.
But if you haven't done that, that's a great one, and I'm really excited for Deer Fest going back to Oshkosh too. Hopefully that'll get that meeting or that conference going back big as it used to be.
That's the thing, right? After this COVID thing, getting everything back ramped up. We're seeing here in Michigan, I don't know about you in the public shows over there, but we have not had a lame public show now that they've reopened everything. They've been busy, whether it be a hunting show, a fishing show, a boat show, a campus show. They've been all busy, and people are just like everywhere.
Everybody's ready to get back out.
Right?
Yep.
So let's get back out and do that. But, just definitely want to thank you so much for joining us and becoming a partner with us at Up North Journal. And hopefully this for years to come, we're going to be working together and just giving you feedback that you'd like to see. But you're also a newbie. And so here at Up North Journal, we like to give our newbie interviewers some fun questions.
Oh, okay.
Right? Kind of lighten the mode, and we just kind of go from there. But you're going to some shows, so this kind of fits right in. So you're on your way to your show, and what's your go-to snack that you're going to have?
go-to snack. That's got a few. My favorite is, this is gonna sound goofy. The Quest. So that's a protein Quest protein. The Quest cookies. They don't taste, usually protein bars and stuff taste
Right.
kind of like cardboard. If you're looking for a protein and you're feeling like you're cheating, right? You got a cookie that actually tastes pretty good, that you're at least tricking yourself that it's healthy, right? So Quest protein chocolate chip cookie.
There you go.
All right. So while you're munching on your chocolate chip cookie, you're traveling down the road. What are you listening to on the radio?
Okay, so I'm either if I'm listening to music, I grew up a metalhead, so I would be listening probably to, and Mark will laugh at this because he knows, but Metallica, or so extreme, extreme rock and roll. That's what I listen to. I still listen to it, if not daily, weekly, or I'm listening to podcasts. Right, I love that. That keeps my mind a little bit more stimulated, listening to podcasts.
So he's rocking out to Metallica, driving down the road, eating a cookie.
Gotta like that.
Right? He's listening to Ozzy's Boneyard, is what he's doing.
Ozzy's Boneyard is on my favorites.
I hear you, buddy. There's nothing like a nice little drive to the UP listening to Ozzy's Boneyard. But so Mike and I are going to come visit you, and we're going to stop by for dinner, and you are going to make us your go-to meal that you're going to say, you guys are going to die for this one. And you are going to make us, whether it be venison, fish, whatever, you are going to make us what?
Yep. So this one's easy, and it's not the typical answer, right? Because most people can probably say venison steaks or whatever, and it's a version of that. We love, in the Hepfler household, to make cheese pizza, like a 5-cheese pizza with venison bratwurst sausage. So we cook the bratwurst just like you normally would. We boil it in beer, right? Then grill it, and then cut it. So that's our sausages, and put that on cheese pizza. I'm telling you what, best pizza you ever have. Store-bought cheese, don't matter what kind of brand. It's the venison bratwurst that brings it home.
Man, I'd be in the gym for about a month after that. But man, would that be worth
There's
it?
no
Wow.
there's barely any carbs in that, though.
Wow.
That's the best
sounds
part.
good.
Cheese, venison, all you're down to is your bread.
Yeah.
That's
That sounds awesome.
Right?
We got to figure a different question, because every time we ask that question, I wind up hungry afterwards.
I know. I'm telling you, I should go back and hit up all the people we interviewed and ask them for a recipe, and we should put a cookbook together.
There you go.
The Wisconsin,
Up north cookbook.
right? The Wisconsin cheese venison pizza,
That sounds good.
right? So
That's a Wisconsin dish, right? That sounds like a Wisconsin dish.
Yeah, with all that cheese.
like cheese curds, right?
Yeah, and brats.
Right? But you gotta do them the right way, in beer.
That's right.
Right?
Got to have beer.
Liney's, some Liney's beer, Liney's fresh.
Okay, I'm in. Summer Shandy's coming up.
There you go.
Yeah, everybody's like, what time's dinner? Sounds good. All right, so we ate this great meal. We decided we're going to sit around the campfire, maybe the fireplace. You're going to tell Mike and Dan one of those stories that resonates with you, that you like, you guys got to hear this story. It could be a memory from yesterday to way back. But what would be that go-to story that you want to tell us?
Yeah, if it's a deer hunting story, I live this. I actually wasn't even able to carry a gun yet, so I was probably around that, 10, 11, 12. 12, I think, is when we could first hunt back in those days. And we were in Winter, Wisconsin, doing one of those drives that we talked about, right? Cold, but the water on the lake had not frozen over yet. So we drove, and we were chasing what we thought was a doe and a buck. We didn't know for sure. We just knew it was 2 deer, but just going by the prints, we thought it was a buck and a doe. So we drove it to an island that it was frozen on one side of it, and then the other side was completely open still. So we me and my dad went to the Trap and Fish Lodge and asked if they had any boats still in the water. They did. So we put one stander on land, and then me and my dad got on a boat and took it to the island to try to trap these deer. Right? Turns out it was two doe, not a buck, and we drove it right off the island into the water. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen a deer swim. I have. They can move, right? You would think they can't, they'd almost go nowhere. That deer was moving. I got to pet it, I rolled up right next to it and pet it. And I'll never forget that we were actually hunting deer in a boat in November.
Wow.
So.
Well, there's not many people that you can say that, right? So that would,
Wisconsin, yeah.
Oh yeah, especially that, right? Northern Wisconsin, open water, right? Just like I get sometimes, you'll get them. You're either hunting below zero, or you're practically hunting almost in shorts.
Right.
Every so many years, it you get a secular thing going, right? You either get blasted with snow, or else it's so warm, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I remember hunting an opener here in Michigan before in a t-shirt and shorts.
Right?
It was so warm.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, so we like to throw those questions at you and just kind of get you to open up a little bit and find out what the real Jason has to offer. So we're going to do some rocking out when we're in the car with him.
There you go.
So
I got you covered. You bet.
We got Sirius XM radio. We're good.
You got anything else?
No, I'm good. I think we've fishing for deer.
That's Adam Wen. There we go.
Right. And Mark
Speaking
Coleman.
of fishing, do you do a lot of fishing?
I definitely hunt more.
Okay.
I love turkey hunting. We'll definitely get time in the blind every spring, and looking forward to that if the snow ever leaves. And deer hunting is really my passion. But fishing, grew up fishing. I probably don't make time for it like I do hunting, but love doing it. I'll be doing it next week down in Florida. Can't wait for that. Doing some backwater fishing, not big water fishing. But I'm probably a little bit more opportunistic with my fishing, right?
So what species will you be after down there?
I'm not sure. This is the first time we were going to Marco Island. We usually go to the Keys, right? So we do some bonefish down there, and in this, I'm actually not sure what we're going to be chasing in the backwater. It's our first time there, so
Okay.
It's in the chain of 10,000 islands. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Sounds like a good time. You get down in the water, it doesn't matter. You're not in snow. It's always a good time when you're
Yeah.
away from here. Especially this time of year.
I don't have to catch anything on this trip to have a good time. I just want to see and feel the sun. We see the sun here. We just
Right.
don't feel it.
Yeah,
right now.
absolutely.
Well, speaking of seeing the sun and feeling it, you can definitely tell it's starting to get that when you see the sun. But we spring forward this weekend.
That's right. We're shifting from the morning to the evening, and I really enjoy that, getting out at 5 o'clock. So now I can, instead of going to the gym so much, I can come home and I can ride my bike or I can run.
Right.
So it's always good to get outside and get exercise outside versus doing it indoors.
Absolutely. So, you got anything more?
No. I think we're bumping up against it here. So we appreciate you taking an hour of your time sitting with us tonight, going over the product line, and we also, like I said, we thank you for joining with us and partnering with us this year, and we look forward to a great year. Can't wait. And,
Absolutely.
So can't wait to see the new gear when it comes out as well. So before we do let you go, what time frame? When are we looking at some of the new things that's coming out with you?
Yeah, I like to time it around my shows, right? And typically what I'll do is show at the show first, because we'll get a smaller order first, see how it's received, and then I immediately place a bigger order.
Okay.
So social media will start hitting on our fishing gear. We just had Jay and some of his team were doing the fishing gear, the shirt you're wearing today that I'm wearing as well. We tested with them just last week, or probably about 30 days ago now. And got pictures and that kind of stuff, got feedback. So we'll probably start our turkey and fishing campaign here in the next 10 days, right alongside that show. And then it goes on the website as soon as that show's done. We know our inventory, and boom, we go live. So we'll be sharing it real soon.
Awesome. So we see some stuff coming out here real quick.
Right, and we'll be sending him lots of pictures of us and Swamp Buck, hopefully being successful
There you
on
go.
the water, in the woods,
Yeah,
or
sure.
barrel hunting.
Or Merle hunting. Well, I tell you, this is going to play big this year, kayaking.
Right.
We do a lot of kayaking, so it's going to help keep the sun off and from getting burnt. That's the biggest thing, man. I just seem to burn so easy,
Yeah.
out there on the water. So,
It's like a
Well, again-
magnifying glass, right?
yep.
I think it'll work great for you. That's the feedback we get, but I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm really looking forward to working with you guys this year. Before we agreed to do this, we met on the phone, and I knew we were like-minded, and I was really felt comfortable with this, and this last hour with you guys just proves it. So looking forward to a great year with you guys and beyond.
There we go. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. If that's one of our goals when Mike and I, we've been doing this
17 years.
17 years, thank you.
It's been a while.
Right? I've been here since 2014, but it's that feeling, right? It's that as long as we're having, like, we're around a fire or having a cold one or whatever, we might be having one on the rail, you just want to have that conversation where I can text you or you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I need some help with this, that, and we'll be there for you. So, Yep, no worries there, bud.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Next week, there's no show.
See you in 2 weeks.
We got who?
I think we're going to be talking to somebody in the UP.
Okay, I know where we're going with that. So that's going to do it for us this week. Make sure you go over to Swamp Buck Camo, go to their website, check out their full line that they've got over there, and make sure you go over, hit the social media pages as well. Give them a like, follow, share. Do the same for us. Be sure to share the show. That helps us and help people like Swamp Buck who support us. If you're listening on the podcast and you're listening over on iTunes, please go over and give us a review. That helps us and the people who support us as well. So that's going to do it for us this week. Y'all take care, and we will be back hopefully with a nice tan in 2 weeks.
Okay, one of us with a tan.
That'll do it for us this week, folks. Y'all take care.
It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
Welcome back to another